more, keep going. And that was that. So, yeah, I mean, and then it's done and you sort of have to deal with it. And I remember coming back to London, everyone, like my girlfriend at the time and family, like just the complete shock. I think she burst into tears. But it's really shocking, like, especially in a modern day society, like, it's quite a shocking haircut. So any opportunity in Dublin when we were out for meals and restaurants, any of the guys, like Travis, any of the guys, I think Clive did it a couple of times as well. You just like, I remember a couple of times we'd be in a bar.
Anytime he got too big for his boots, when he was like talking and everyone was like, oh, he's such a cool guy. We just got behind and pull his beanie off and be like, this massive ball patch.
Yeah. Or just talking to anyone. Like, I remember a couple of times being in a bar and being like 22 and I'm cool, I'm in Dublin and I've got my beanie on at 11 p.m. and sipping my French martini. I'm super cool. Just as like I'd strike up the initial conversation with a lovely person at the bar, the beanie would be whipped off. And then that would be that. And I'd go home sober. Yeah. The things we do for our job.
You ended up having probably more hairstyles than any of the other female characters in Vikings, because your transformation is ridiculous. I mean, Athelstan goes through so many transformations. You know, he goes from monk to slave to free man to trainee Viking. And then as soon as he goes over to Wessex, Egbert gets hold of him and he turns into the scholar who starts kind of translating all of these Roman articles and things, and then back to Viking. It was a kind of whirlwind, and then crucified, and it's a pretty immense acting journey for any actor. I mean, the arc.
Yeah, no, I mean...
How did it feel when you suddenly started having to kind of go from timid Athelstan the monk to, blood-raging Viking? I remember you had your first battle. That was quite a story. Like
you said, and I've always said to people since start of season 2, really, working on season 2, that it was such a gift of a character. I think there was a joke going around on set that I was making requests, like weekly requests of, what do I want to be next month? What should we turn Athelstan into? And I genuinely wasn't. It was just such an amazing character arc. And I've often said I will find it really hard to find a job where I get to play one role and get to do so much sort of range and scope and so much of a journey that a character gets to go on. It really was such an amazing gift of a part for that. And yeah, I mean, so much fun as well to kind of go through that process. And then season 2, it genuinely felt like school. Like I'd been called up to like the top football team or something. Like they've let me grow my hair long. I didn't grow as in put in extensions and like hold an axe and a shield and I'm going to battle. Oh my God. Yeah, I think there was that first battle, Clive, that you're referencing. I think I still thought that it was all pretend. Like, I think this will be fun. We'll do a bit of swooshing and it was like a full-on battle. I obviously didn't know at the time that they had like all of the UK's best stunties all in one place in one location. And when action shouted, it's just like, well, we'll just go for it for real, shall we? And
yeah,
some of the footage that it's not all used in the final thing, but it is just me like in total shock about like he's really hitting me.
He hurt me.
Yeah, like he's actually like barging against me in that shield wall, and I'm like actually falling over. It was so amazing. I remember I think one of the first shots, and they ran them for like 3 or 4 minutes in those big shield walls, and they just kind of find whatever they can with the camera. I remember the first time they shouted cut, everyone just went silent, and you could just hear this like high-pitched giggling from somewhere in the shield wall. I'll never, because I remember like everyone just being like, what the hell is that? And I was just there on the floor on my back, just being like, like having the time of my life. It was so amazing.
I remember Travis coming home as well, going, it was like life, mirror and art. It's like, because after you've done a few of those battles, you know that you're going to be doing it all day. So you kind of conserve your energy, and it's kind of, you just let it out when you need to. And it's like, obviously like being in real battle. When you're marching across a field, you got to keep your energy. You're not going to scream and shout and run. By the time you clash swords with someone, you're tired. But I remember Travis, like, from the moment he got out of the minibus in the morning, he was like, we're going to fight. It's that kind of thing. It's like, by halfway through it, it's like, you're going to learn the hard way. It's like a baptism of fire, some of those days on the battlefield.
No, definitely.
I remember, George, was it season 4 when Athelstan had his big transformation. I'm thinking it was season 4, and we all stayed out at, or we were all at the Druids Inn or something, this beautiful hotel near the set, and I saw you for the first time, and you like doubled in size, not chubby, like muscles. And I was like, and I hadn't read what your journey was going to be. I didn't realize you were going to turn into a Viking and all that. And you were like, you were at the gym and you were pumping, you were just like buffed up. And I was going, oh, I guess Athelstan's going a different path this season.
That's very sweet of you. I actually hadn't. I'd got a lot smaller, and I didn't realize this. And Clive probably know. I mean, from like I'd never been fitness crazy, and let me explain why that happened. So why that happened was between season 2 and 3, I got a massive long email from Michael. It was on season 3. Between season 2 and 3, I got a massive long email from Michael explaining what was going to happen in season 3 to my character. If you've seen it, you know. And he said also, before that happens, I'm writing a kind of love story for you, and
you're gonna have to go shirtless.
Get to the gym, like he was basically like, get to the gym, mate.
Look good naked.
No, I think he actually referenced a scene in season 2. In season 2, again, spoiler, sorry if you've not seen the show, but in season 2, my character gets crucified, and in season 2, I obviously was my pre-fitness self, and it was just in a loincloth, and to the point where I'm not going to name who it was, but someone on the crew. Pretty influential. I was up there on the cross, like tied in, and between takes, you've just got to sit up there, like. And
I gotta pee.
Yeah, someone came up and was like, "Mate, you should probably suck in a bit. Just suck in, just because no one wants to see that."
No one wants to see a fat Jesus.
Literally, yeah. And I was kind of like, no, whatever. But then in the email that Michael sent, he was like, yeah, so you should probably eat more salads and go to the gym. And at the time, I was really like, this is outrageous. I'm not one of these like Chris Hemsworth type. I'm on a show called Vikings, but I still was like, I'm not one of these like Chris Hemsworth types, and I'm not gonna like change my body shape for anyone. And then I calmed down and thought, actually, you know, I pride myself on being able to do what someone asks of me, a director or a writer, and this is just another thing that someone's asked me to do, and why not? So then I obviously went completely mental with it. I did 9 workouts a week and was 0 carbs, and because also Michael had sent this email like 7 weeks before before the season started. And I spoke to a PT friend of mine. I was like, what do you think? Do you think this is... I think I actually showed him a photo of Clive or Travis. I was like, is this achievable in 6 weeks? And he literally like laughed at me and was like, no, it's not. That's years. But so I didn't actually put on any size. I just took everything off, like all of the fat, basically. It's amazing what just not eating rubbish can do. But it was I loved it. It was the most amazing like life experience. I highly recommend it to anyone. Like, you don't have to go crazy at the gym, but just cut out processed sugar. It was like I had withdrawal, like I had headaches and like sweats, and it was crazy. Like, I fully had to sort of wean myself off processed sugar. And after about 2 weeks, I felt like so energetic. It was amazing.
You brought up then the crucifixion scene, because I was thinking there's a few moments in Vikings which are just those moments that just sit with you. And every character has them. But for you and for the show, I think that crucifixion scene with Athelstan is one of the most memorable moments in the whole series, not just the season. But for us as well, it was funny because you had a lot of extras that were there all day. It was blazing hot that day. I mean, you talk us through what it was like to film that, because it must have been harsh. But I mean, it all culminated for us that the audience wouldn't have seen in a rendition of a Life of Brian song. And I just think, you know, it's a memorable moment for the fans, but it's also a memorable moment, I think, for all of involved for you, because you talk us through it.
Yeah, so I mean, that is definitely one of those scenes where the reality of shooting it was very different to the result that you ended up watching. I remember watching it, and even I was playing it, but even watching it, they cut away to lots of other kind of violent close-ups that when you're filming in isolation, things like a close-up of a nail going through your hand, you know, it's so technical on the day filming things like that you forget that when it's all pieced together, how powerful it can be. And it was I think they did the sequence really, really well. They the way they put it together and the music and the tone. I really enjoyed that challenge of kind of presenting someone in, that character in that state. But yeah, there was also some levity on set where we would be sat for 10 minutes between takes where they were changing the cameras around, and I'd still be up on the cross. I think people started shouting requests for songs and things. That's where that came from. And then, of course, The Life of Brian had to come out.
Which was banned in Ireland for like 20 years or something like that. It was only just that recently when we were filming that they were allowed to show it in cinemas again. I think that's why the Irish extras got really behind that. Did you not know that?
No, I never knew that.
Yeah, it was banned.
What?
It was never allowed a cinema release because of its religious connotations and how offensive it was to the church. That in Ireland, they never got it at the cinemas. And then I think when we were there in season 1, they'd passed it also, and it was the first time that you could watch it in the cinema.
Are you kidding?
So, it was a funny moment anyway, but these guys have probably hadn't even seen the film unless they'd watched it pirated or something.
That, like moments in your life where you're like, everything just drops in. There were so many things said on the day, and like Ken, the director, Ken Girotti, was like really impressed that I'd done it, and I was like, all right. I mean, I just sung a verse from like. I mean, it's not that.
We have to root out the footage so people can see it. Actually, this is what we got to get it on.
Someone
Vikcast.
must have it. Who has that in B-roll? Someone does.
Somewhere. I might have it. So I'll have a look. Maybe send it to you guys. But wow, I did not know that. God, I wish I'd known that.
He's not the Messiah. He's just a very naughty monk.
Yeah. Yeah. That was so brilliant. There was lots of characters watching with like spears, but sort of like everyone swaying in the field like this underneath me as I was singing it. A lot of fun.
I think Vikings is such a funny example of how when you watch the show, it can be brutal and tense, and it's just this incredible. But on set, I think we were known for one of the funniest prank sets going at the time, and we're just endless pranks. I remember this wasn't on set actually. I remember one time back at that hotel, this car drove up. We were all kind of hanging out, and then maybe it was your birthday. In the boot / trunk of the car was George. They opened it up, and someone had put you in there, and then Travis was really mad because everyone was like, let George out, because you were really drunk or something. Was that your birthday? I don't remember.
So, a couple of things. I put myself in there. No.
What?
So, it was actually my final day filming.
Yes, that's right.
I'd wrapped that day and said goodbye to the character Athelstan, and I think Travis, or maybe Clive, someone suggested.
Travis was the ringleader. I was there, but Travis was the ringleader.
No, but someone was like, let's go back to the hotel and have a drink for George last night. Right, let's all get in the cars. And I think, this just sums up my experience of 3 years on Vikings. I think everyone had got into a car, and there were I'd gone back for my shield or something that I'd left on set and came back out, and there were no seats in the cars that were heading to the hotel. And I can't remember who it was who was at the boot. The boot was open, someone was putting bags in, and it was probably Travis. And I was like, I'll just get in the boot. Like, it's fine. What's wrong with me? Honestly, what's wrong with me? And I was like, yeah. And I think I just saw this, like glint in his eye. He was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Right? It'll be fine.
And this is a boot or a trunk of a car that it closes. It's not like there's any windows or anything. This is a proper trunk. Once it's closed, it's darkness.
Yeah. It's like hostage situation.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Yeah, literally. And I'd never been in that environment before and thought it was a good idea. But you don't realise you've never been in that environment before until you're in it, and you're like lying there like. Yep. Yeah, I'll be fine, Travis. And you've just got like that shot of him at the boot, like holding the thing like, you're an idiot. Close the boot.
And Pulp Fiction-esque.
Like, yeah, awful. Immediately pitch black. You realise, this is pretty dark and I'm actually quite disorientated and I can't really hear things properly. Well, this is quite scary. And I didn't have my phone with me for some reason. I don't know where. I must have been in a bag or... So there was no way to put on a light or anything, and whoever came up with it, it was honestly, it was genius, whoever came up with this, because we set off, and I knew the route. It was maybe 15 minutes along a motorway, basically. So we got up to speed, and I was like, oh, yeah, well, we're now on the motorway, because there's quite a loud sound of, tarmac whizzing past at 70, 80 miles per hour. And then we came off too early.
We were going round roundabouts for again.
I mean, I don't know where we went, but we stopped like way too early, and all the car stopped, engine went off, all 4 doors opened. I could hear the doors open, and